Hi, I'm Jennifer Poole,
And I'm Dave Poole.
and this is our 20 Days.
Good morning.
Hey, my friend, how are you?
Doing well. We're having a fun little hot spell here in
Oh, yeah?
Ohio. Yeah, we've been in the high 80s for the last, well, there'll be 3 days, including this one. So yeah,
Okay.
it's and of course, since we put off all of our yard work and until we got back from the cruise, and we knew that, so I've had some really wonderful times doing my outdoor chores and
Nice.
sweating my ass off.
So we had a gig, what day was it? I guess it was Thursday of last week at a retirement home, which is always it's actually a really good crowd to play for because especially the style of music we play, they enjoy hearing, some of that stuff. But it surprisingly got up to 92 that day. And we
Mm.
played I think it was from 4:30 to 6:30 was the window we played. So it was kind of right at the peak of sun in my eyes, no wind, 92 degrees, humidity something close to that. And I'd forgotten what it was like to play a drum kit in that kind of condition. So I'm not as young as I used to be.
But we're younger than we'll ever be.
Oh, well, that's true. Yeah, it doesn't get any younger from here. That's for sure. So I'm thinking we're going to rename this podcast Paul's Travel Log. So how was Clearwater?
Clearwater was great. We had the weather for the most part, other than one morning, the last full day, the morning of the last day, full day we were there. Just gorgeous weather. It was just sunny, and we saw sunset on uh, Sunday night. That was just absolutely gorgeous. It was really cool. But on Tuesday morning, I went out for a long walk, and then I decided I went with my wife and sister-in-law. Decided to I wanted to check out this little bistro that was we had heard of. So I decided I'd walk down there, and so it's about another half-mile walk, and I get down there, and I can see the thick black clouds heading toward the beach. And as I was starting to work my way back, I'm looking down the street. One of the streets actually goes out to the ocean, and there's just sand whipping, just
Oh,
swirling, and it's like, oh
yeah.
my god. So I was prepared for that. Fortunately, I saw it coming, so I didn't get too much in my eyes. And then I decided, maybe I just ought to jog back instead of just walking
Okay.
back. And but then for about half that first quarter mile from there, other than uh, like chairs flying across the street, the signs that they put up, those,
Yeah. Right.
they're flying, and it's like, oh shit, I got to worry. I'm not sure I think I need to worry more about that as an imminent danger than the
Yeah.
lightning and everything else that was
Right.
going on. And I've been caught out. This is not the worst weather I've ever been caught out with. That crown goes to Kettering, and it was just a
Yeah.
even nastier storm. But so I start jogging, and and it's not too bad. It's like the lightning and thunder, instead of being on my left now, is inland on my right, and I'm headed back north. And well, maybe I'm just going to get through this. And I get about halfway back, and I just let loose. it just, it just, and I go, well, at this point, I'm just soaking wet, so it really doesn't matter. So it's more about getting out of it than anything. So I kept jogging back, and then I turned down the street where our condo is on. Now I'm going back directly into the wind, and I had to jog these last several yards or whatever with one hand over my eyes and one hand over my mouth,
Oh,
just
geez.
so I wouldn't get sand and water and things I needed. So, but other than that afternoon was absolutely gorgeous,
Yep.
and the one of the highlights of the trip was I found a new drink that I like.
Oh,
And I had this
that's
I had
good.
this I had this habit of looking at a menu and saying, well, I got to try that, because that doesn't sound like it ought to work. So it was it turns out to be an absolutely delicious combination of Basil Hayden bourbon and
Okay.
root beer.
You're right.
Yeah,
Those two are not things I would have put together.
that was pretty much the look on my face when I saw it on the menu. It's like, well, and a little dash of bitters. I don't think it really makes
Yep.
much difference. But it is absolutely delicious. The
Right.
the bourbon kind of kills some of the sweetness of the root beer, and the root beer takes away some of the
Right.
burning of the bourbon, and together they're just really really good.
That's
So
interesting that you mentioned bourbon because in the days when you and I spent any time together, you were definitely one of my wine friends. You were into that sort of thing. So, but I'm like you when I don't really look at the cocktail menu very much because I tend to when I like beer, I like craft beer, so I'll try a local beer when I'm going. So, like for example, I made several trips to Milwaukee when I was working for AM Conservation Group, Franklin Energy, and they had a local. I guess it was a pilsner, if I remember right. It's either a pilsner or a lager. I've forgotten which, but it's called Spotted Cow. So you might see it occasionally in Dayton, especially if you go to like Total Wine or Arrow Wine or something like that. That's got a pretty good collection of stuff, and it was a good, a nice, predictably smooth drinking, medium bodied beer. So I like that. So I like doing beers. I also like looking at red wines, particularly. I like trying different California wines when I see them.
mhm.
So I'll do that. But I've also, I'm a Scotch guy, but I have my Scotch that I like. I'm a Macallan Scotch guy. So I pretty much don't drink much other than that. But bourbon, my friend Tom Roberts and Quint and I made a bourbon trail stop right in the middle of COVID, which was a lot of fun. So I've kind of gotten into trying out new bourbons. And the Basil Hayden is one that I have in my liquor cabinet, but I have not opened it yet. I need to do that.
Yeah, it's really good. I think as I recall, I may be wrong, but I think it's a 70 proof bourbon.
Okay.
As I recall from the label, because when I bought it the other day after I got home and said I got to make this at home, I swear that when I saw it, it was like 70 proof, and I was like, "Wow,
Pretty
that's
light.
that's definitely a little less bitey than the 80s
Yeah.
or the ones above." I'm not a real big fan of like the 100 proofs or 110 proofs. They just
Well,
burn you.
I now that you say that, I'm trying to remember who makes Basil Hayden. Is that a Buffalo Trace?
No,
I
no,
don't
it's
remember. It's made by one. It's made by one of the bigger distilleries. I'm sure because I remember seeing it on that trip that I made with Tom and Quint, and I think it was originally created largely to appeal to a more female crowd for that reason you just said. It's
mhm.
less harsh. Um, and then one of the other things I picked up on that trip, we went to the Maker's Mark distillery, and I've got I want to say it's a pretty high alcohol content, cask strength, sort of bourbon, and it's really good. But the most important one that I've got in my cabinet that I've just recently gotten that I haven't opened. We had a number of trips we had to make to Reno when I was at AM Conservation, and we were installing a new ERP system there. So I spent like 3 straight weeks out there, and we kind of got hooked at one of the casinos on a Buffalo Trace bourbon called the Eagle Rare, which which is I just fell in love with it. So, but it's really hard to find. The Buffalo Trace Distillery didn't have any in stock when we were there.
Mm.
So I figure if the manufacturer doesn't have it, then I don't know what hope you have. But I found some at a place in Chicago called why can't I think of the name of it? Benny's is the name of it, and they shipped to South Carolina. So it came here I don't know a couple of weeks ago. So it's sitting on the shelf, staring me in the face. So one of these days I'm going to have a bad day during the day and decide it's time.
Yeah, I'm kind of a good day or bad day. Either way.
Well, there is that. Yeah. Yesterday was a good day, and last night I had a glass of the Macallan 12 years. So, it's, yeah, you're right. I don't need a lot of excuses.
Yeah, Buffalo Trace is by far the one I like the most for the price point, and it's just delicious
Yep.
and hard to find. Although we have a liquor store about a quarter mile from here, and they most of last year they always got it in on the third Friday of the month.
Okay.
So I was able to keep my, and they're only allowed to sell a person one bottle per day.
Okay.
So I would go up there, and then I come home and say, Elaine, would you go up and buy another one?
Yeah. Go lining up all your friends here to do this.
Yeah. So but the last couple of months that they did not have it, they had it the fourth Friday last month. So and they did not have it the third Friday this month. So I'll be going up there Friday morning and seeing whether or not I can snag some.
Right.
Yeah.
So have you tried what I'm going to call it this smoked phenomena? So I had a Molly Maid friend in town last Friday, and she was telling me about her preferred drink is an old fashioned.
Mhm.
And what they do is they sell little, for lack of a better term, smokers that, it infuses this smoked smell into the beverage. And I've done that once. And I liked it, but it had never. Oh, hello. Good,
Yes, I've
good
heard of
answer.
it.
Good
Actually,
answer.
I own a couple of them, and yeah, I can. So yeah, I do. I have heard of it. I have done it. It is delicious. You can easily over smoke it if you're not.
Ah,
The first time I tried, it's like, I wonder how long I should leave this on. I said, well, first attempt I'll do a minute and a half. And then I went, okay, well let's back that down to 30 seconds next time. Go from there. Whew.
gotcha. So I've forgotten what's in an old fashioned. So it's got to be some sort of bourbon, I would guess, plus something. I don't know what else is in there.
Like some kind of triple sec.
I'm gonna have to look it up.
Yeah, because it's got a distinct orangey flavor
Yeah,
to it.
exactly.
So I got a couple of those.
Of course, there's a website called liquor.com.
All right.
Who knew this? Sometime, yeah. So it's a teaspoon of sugar, 3 dashes of Angostura bitters, teaspoon of water, 2 ounces of bourbon, and an orange twist. Okay.
Oh, they're just using orange on that. Okay.
Yeah.
I usually use one of my triple sec varieties that I have.
Okay. So I guess that's, like anything else in life, it's, I mean, you and I both cook similarly, I think. So it's like, yeah, I'll look at the recipe, but if I don't have a particular ingredient or don't like a particular ingredient, I feel free to make a substitute.
Oh,
So,
absolutely.
so anyway, sorry here. I'm getting all sorts of notifications now. It's one thing I hate about going to new websites. It's like, can we send you notifications? No. Can we add you to our mailing list? No. Can you give us your phone number? No. It's like, and I get the marketing piece of it, but my gosh, it's annoying.
Yeah. So as of right now, we don't have any trips planned. We
Ooh.
will. We just don't have them planned yet.
Yeah.
We need to go see both of her sons. So sometime the football season, since they're both football coaches, they typically their schedule is they get off the last week of June, first 2 weeks of July. That's kind of if you're going to do anything or plan. Yeah. Now they get other little days here and there, and spring
Right.
break or whatever, but that summertime is really the key there. So we need to get down to College Station, Texas. So we'll fly down there, and then we got to get up to
Have you
Buffalo.
been to College Station? I've never been there.
I've never been there. No, I've been to
Yeah.
Austin, Dallas, a few other, San Antonio, but no, College Station is literally just there for the university. It's
Yeah.
like a big Miami, Oxford, Ohio. It's kind of like a little town, except this is a little town on steroids. It's about 150,000 people, so
Okay.
it's a pretty good size.
Yeah, it's like, like Ohio University, Athens is kind of the same. That's, where my undergrad's from. And I've always told folks that, if you lived in Athens, Ohio, you were one of three things. You either were a student, you worked for the university, or you grew pot. Or some combination of those three. I guess you could be two of the three, maybe even all three of three. But yeah, I've kind of made it a not like a mission in life, but certainly something I've done a few times is make it a point to go see a college football game at the major, college football towns. Obviously, Ohio State, Michigan, Penn State. Is that Happy Valley? I guess is the name of that
Yeah,
area.
station. Yeah.
Yep. And then, I've made it to a few others. I've not seen a football game, but I've been at, the LA Coliseum, where USC plays. I've been to the Rose Bowl, never seen a Rose Bowl, but I saw a UCLA game there. So that's one of the great Americana visits, right? College football, tailgate experience, and the whole stadium experience, where you get 100,000 crazy people, doing something, for the good of the team.
Yeah, we enjoy the games. Our plans to go down in October and see Texas A&M playing LSU.
Oh, okay.
The one we decided we wanted to go to. It's late enough in the season where it's probably not going to be 95 degrees during the day. It'll be a game of probably be an important game. I think LSU is preseason number 12. So if Texas A&M's having a good year, that could be a pivotal game in terms of their season. So we'll do that, and we'll go to Buffalo for a game, and we're going to go to see Buffalo at Akron in early November. So the schedule for the rest of the year, and then we're trying to figure out if we can do a southern swing. End of September and the first week of October seem to be a point where we don't have anything else really going on. So we're going to see whether we can head down south. And
I've enjoyed living here in Charleston. There's a couple of football schools here. The Citadel plays football, and that's always fun because it's they, especially if you go to I don't know, like Citadel versus VMI, so you've got two military schools, Virginia Military Institute, so it's similar talent. They both tend to run quirky offenses like wishbone, triple option sort of stuff, because they don't get all the athletes. They kind of have to like it's like Army and Air Force. They have to kind of execute their way into being decent, as opposed to just getting all the the Ohio State transfer portal guys. So that and it's a nice stadium. Where the Citadel plays seats about 20,000. Nice environment. And then Charleston Southern is here, and they've been a pretty decent. I forget what they are. If they're Division 3 or Division 1 or whatever, I guess they used to call it 1AA. Football Championship Series, FCS. That's what it is. So and they've been pretty good, and it's a nice like a. I mean, there are high schools in Ohio that have bigger stadiums than these guys do. If you go to like was it Massillon up there north of Columbus, or Princeton and Cincinnati, or somebody like that, Cincinnati Moeller, those types. Well, I guess Kettering Alter is probably a big football school there in Dayton, as I recall.
It is, and they just that many years ago they finally got a football field.
Oh, really? They didn't play it. They didn't have a home field.
No, and
I did not know that.
And I'm not even sure they play there, but they certainly practice there. I'm going to find that out. As I recall, just because it's right next to Incarnation Church,
right.
When you drive there, you see it, and I don't recall like there being a large number of stands or anything there.
You're right. I can't think of anything geographically that kind of stands out in the area that would indicate big stadium, or even little stadium for that matter.
Yeah. And then there's Chaminade Julienne High School. A few years back, they built a stadium, Roger Glass Stadium, and I'm not sure how big it is, but it's really nice. And it's tucked back in the neighborhood, sort of. Well, the problem that CJ had was they're very landlocked for a long period of time, and as finally plots of land became available that they could snatch up, they finally got enough land to put in tennis courts and the football stadium and all that other stuff. Back when I was
say that they were a smaller school, as I recall. They weren't like one of these schools that had class sizes of 1,500 or something crazy. CJ was always when in track, when I was in high school, we ran against them, and we were a smaller school. I mean, back in the day, they used to call it Division A, AA and AAA, but AAA being the largest. But we were a Class A school, and we'd see CJ in like district tournaments and things like that.
Yep. I ran track my senior year at CJ. So I was a 2-miler. Only once I ran. One time toward the end of the season, they stuck me at the final, the last leg of a 2-mile 4x800.
I ran that myself.
Yeah, that was a lot of fun. I liked running the long distances because I could just like get out there, get a pace, kind of like, think my way through the race because I knew that distance was good. But I run, what is it, 880 or whatever it was. That is a hard race to run because I remember I took off on this last 2 laps with the baton and run around. And by the time I got to the first turn, I felt like I was gassed.
Yeah.
I can't do this. But
I always liked that distance. 800 fit me really well for some reason. So I never had the stamina to run, long distances, 2 miles, 5Ks, whatever. But I was also not the speediest guy. So if I were running like a 400 or a 440, I could run like 56 seconds, 57 seconds. And, the best people on our team were running like 52, 53. So I wasn't competitive, but I could run 2 of them back to back. I could run, a 154, 800 for some reason, because like you said, I could get into my pace and just, be very consistent for the whole 800. But even 154 was not particularly competitive in an 800. We had guys on our team running 151, 152, in that sort of range. So, but I was a good, third guy on the 800, or 4x800 relay team, and that was always fun. But yeah, I always love the saying, when the going gets tough, sprinters quit. So I always loved the guys that could only run 100 meters at a time. So
yeah, my best mile was 4:58, which actually occurred in practice.
Okay.
And my best half mile was 2:17. So I was a middle of the pack runner. I wasn't going to catch the long-legged guys or the speedy guys or whatever, but I wasn't going to end up being last. And in fact, in that relay, I got the baton in third place, and I finished in third place. So I consider that a moral victory for me.
That is a victory. Yeah, you don't lose ground.
Yeah.
So, well, hey, I got to get going, but good chatting with you, and as always, and hopefully you figure out where you're going to travel this summer. We can talk about that.
Yep, we'll do. Okay, sounds good.
All right, buddy. Catch you later.
All right.
Hey all, thanks for watching this episode of Our 20 Days. Look for us at our20days.com, and please hit the subscribe button so you're notified of all future episodes as they drop, usually on Thursdays. Thanks for watching.